So we just got some pretty insane updates about the coming Dave Filoni Star Wars movie. And while I think this news is really good, there's also a fair bit of controversy surrounding this news, and a lot of Star Wars fans not pleased with what they're hearing. So I want to get into all of that. I got to first go over the updates and all the information that we have about this coming movie. Then we'll talk about the drama, and I'll try to quell it. I'll try to explain to you why I don't think people should be worried. So smash a freaking like button and let's begin. So yesterday it officially leaked that the title for Dave Filoni's coming Star Wars movie will be Heir to the Empire. And this came from a source known as My Time to Shine Hello. That's a familiar name to many of you that watch the channel, especially the Marvel videos, as My Time to Shine Hello has been one of the most accurate and prevalent leakers in the space for years. However, a lot of Star Wars fans are not familiar with this account, and so they were confused and calling the source suspect, not wanting to believe that this was true. And I will say that although My Time to Shine Hello has not done a ton of Star Wars scoops, the scoops that she has had within the Star Wars community have been spot on. She is technically the first scooper to talk about how it wasn't actually going to be Mina Massoud as Ezra Bridger. And this is because Making Star Wars originally had it that it was going to be Mina Massoud and that it was going to be Lars Nicholson. And so My Time to Shine knew it wasn't going to be Mina way before anybody else. And so I believe this. I believe that the title of the movie is going to be Heir to the Empire. Although, to be completely fair, it is possible that they will actually change the title, especially if Kathleen Kennedy comes in and wants to fuck everything up once more. But barring that and barring some change in direction, I'm thinking it's going to be Heir to the Empire, guys. It makes complete and total sense. And I consider it to be a W. I think this is freaking awesome. But again, there were a lot of people that didn't share my reaction. They were like, no, I don't like that. And we will get into all of that in just a second. Now, strangely, this announcement or this scoop comes on the heels of Dave Filoni himself talking very candidly about how he views Thrawn as the main villain of this era or this part of the Star Wars timeline. And Dave was not shy about this at all. He talked about how Heir to the Empire is a big inspiration for him, that he wants to do justice to the Heir to the Empire story, and in this canon version of that, Thrawn will be the big bad, the most important threat that the New Republic faces. And so it's really fair to say that Thrawn's going to be the main villain of this time period, and Thrawn is going to be the main villain of Dave Filoni's movie, which again is going to be called Heir to the Empire. And I really thought a lot of this was obvious, but to many people, this is somewhat of a revelation. And so it really comes into focus. It comes into view now. Dave Filoni and Lucasfilm, they are building towards Heir to the Empire. And while this version of Heir to the Empire will obviously be very different than the ones we got in those old Timothy Zahn books, I think Dave is really going to stay true to the spirit of what those books were about. And mainly, that was the fact that Thrawn posed an incredible threat to the galaxy that was very different than anything we had seen before in Star Wars. But there's a big aspect of this story that a lot of fans are questioning on whether or not Dave will include, and that is Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker and his new Jedi Academy was a main focus of the entire Heir to the Empire or Thrawn trilogy. Like, those books were really an extension of the original 3 movies. You have Han Solo, Princess Leia, Lando Calrissian, Luke Skywalker, and later on, their children playing a significant role in what's going on with the galaxy. Now, I believe, and I have heard, that this version of Heir to the Empire will also see Luke Skywalker being a main character and a staple to this story. Now, another interesting update here is the fact that season 4 of The Mandalorian is said to be delayed. This is apparently because of the writer's strike. Now, the story goes that Jon Favreau has the scripts written for season 4 already, but he's not going to work on the show because you obviously have to do a lot of rewrites while you're shooting and changing things as you go. That's just a normal part of production, but it's impossible to do that without the writers. In this case, Jon, who is a member of that guild. And the reason that matters is because The Mandalorian is essentially the beginning of all of this. It spins out the idea of Thrawn with the Ahsoka episode in season 2, and obviously with the Shadow Council scene in season 3, it establishes that yes, Thrawn is the big bad. He's the guy pulling all the strings. He's the one that everybody's reporting to. And so it seemed like season 4 of The Mandalorian would be an incredibly important season to setting up the Filoni movie, to setting up the heir to the Empire story. And that's probably still the case, but now with that being delayed and the writer's strike expected to last at least until the end of the summer, it's likely that all of this is going to be delayed. Season 4 of The Mandalorian and the Dave Filoni Star Wars film. And as far as Jon Favreau is concerned, My Time to Shine Hello has reported that Jon Favreau is simply a producer on Filoni's movie for now. It really does feel like Lucasfilm is pushing Filoni as the main focus and the main draw to this coming Star Wars movie, and there are a lot of questions as to why. Filoni and Favreau was like peanut butter and jelly. They were the perfect pairing over at Lucasfilm, and what they were establishing with the Mandoverse or the Filoniverse was absolutely epic. It's what has brought us as fans to this moment. But there's a lot of questions about what's going on with Jon Favreau and Lucasfilm behind the scenes. As I reported earlier this year, there apparently was major beef with Jon Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy around the Book of Boba Fett situation going into The Mandalorian season 3. It's very likely that this drama is a part of the reason why the Book of Boba Fett is very lackluster in quality, and Mandalorian season 3 was the worst season yet. And so it'll be interesting to see, does Jon step into the plate and be pushed more as being involved in the Filoni movie? Is he actually going to come back and do season 4 and just go to bat for the fact that Heir of the Empire is coming? Or is he kind of trying to position himself to not be the focus and maybe even eventually step away from Star Wars? Who knows for now? I think the main point and the thing that's important here is the fact that he is attached as a producer for now, and I would like to believe that regardless of whatever situation he has with Kathleen Kennedy, he will help his buddy Dave Filoni, and he will help produce this movie to make it as good as it possibly can be. Anybody that's a big Star Wars fan understands how important Heir to the Empire is, and Jon is one of those guys. But that kind of takes us to the drama, ladies and gentlemen, because there were a lot of Star Wars fans upon hearing the news that the title of this movie is going to be Heir to the Empire, and they pretty much rejected it. And again, this shocked me because I was like, yeah, it's obvious, and it's also freaking awesome, and I'm so excited. But there were so many people out there that were upset about this, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but Dave Filoni has been getting this kind of weird amount of hate lately. This has really ramped up in the past year. And Dave is being accused of basically taking a lot of his toys, the characters that he created and the Clone Wars characters, and just jamming them into a bunch of different projects. And he's also been accused of not caring or respecting the pre-established canon. He technically has retconned more than a few things with his shows, and it seems like if he doesn't like something that was established in one of the Disney novels or one of the Disney comics, he just completely ignores it. And so I think the fear here from a lot of different Star Wars fans is that this movie will be Heir to the Empire in name alone. And I think to a degree that's a legitimate fear. I mean, there are obviously different characters here that were not in Heir to the Empire. Ahsoka is a character that didn't exist before. Ezra is a character that didn't exist before, and on and on and on. There are a lot of differences here. And again, there's this lingering rumor that Lucasfilm wants to downplay Luke Skywalker. They don't really want Luke Skywalker to be a main player in this story, in Heir to the Empire. Now, I don't believe those rumors. In fact, I've been told that they are not true, but yet they persist in the fandom, and I understand why. It's not unreasonable, looking at what Lucasfilm has done over the past 5 years, to imagine that they would take this kind of a path with Luke Skywalker. Now, I personally think Luke's going to be a main player, if not the main character, for this Heir to the Empire movie, and I think they're going to establish him in a couple other shows as we get closer to the film coming out. And so I think you're going to get a lot of Luke, maybe even Han Solo and Leia Organa. I think this idea, this epicness, this Heir to the Empire film is something that Dave has been thinking about for a long time, and I think he fully understands what this means to Star Wars fans and why he has to deliver something truly iconic here to be held up against those epic novels, which were just so important for Star Wars at the time. But essentially, that's the beef, right? That's where a lot of fans are hung up. They're like, oh, Filoni's just gonna make it all about Ahsoka and all of his Rebels characters, and it's not really gonna be Heir of the Empire, and it's just Disney disavowing something from the EU and making their stuff more more important. You know, we've heard some of these arguments and you know, discussions before, but that seems to be what's going on with the Heir to the Empire film. So, of course, let me know what you think about all of this. Are you excited to see Heir to the Empire? Do you think Dave's going to do a good job, or are you afraid that we're not going to get Luke and that it's going to be a Disney version of Heir to the Empire and you're not going to get the dope stuff that you want? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.